East meets West as the SWAC title game takes place this weekend on the campus of the Alcorn State Braves. It's a rematch from earlier in the season where the Braves were able to knock off the Jaguars in Baton Rouge. A lot has changed since then for the Southern Jags, mainly the quarterback position. Ladarius Skelton is now the starter and has been a huge part of Southern's 5-game winning streak. His ability as a runner has been key, but last week against Grambling, he was able to showcase the passing skills that makes this team very dangerous. For Alcorn, it's been about their run game and defense this season. The Braves are one of the more consistent and talented defensive squads in the entire SWAC. It was because of that defense that they were able to win that game earlier in the year against Southern. Offensively, I like the progress Noah Johnson has made throwing the football. He, just like Skelton, is bringing a ton of balance to the table. Despite the offensive improvements, I still like Alcorn State in this ball game. This game will come down to the wire, and in a low-scoring affair, I like the battle-tested Braves to pull out the victory, punching their ticket to the Celebration Bowl in the process. Jacksonville State survived last week against East Tennessee State. Now they get to travel to Maine to take on the Black Bears. Offensively, can the Gamecocks avoid both mental and physical mistakes, which nearly cost them the game last week against ETSU? They can't have penalties and obviously turnovers against a very good Maine squad that knows how to capitalize on opponents' mistakes. The Black Bears, in a way, hope for the same thing. Their issues have been bugaboo turnovers and lapses in defense that has led them to give up the big play. What I do like about their defense, though, is how frequent they can get to the quarterback to do a fantastic job of setting up shop on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage with 40 sacks on the season. I like Jacksonville State in this ball game. In my opinion, both teams play the same type of game on both sides of the ball. The Gamecocks, though, have a much more consistent passing game that can catch fire, and if they do, it's lights out. Even without that, I like them even more so than Maine. What a matchup here in the second round between two of the FCS best defenses in James Madison and Colgate. When you focus on the offensive side of the ball, there are some questions to worry about in this contest. For JMU, it's whether or not they can find enough of it to put Colgate away. And for the Raiders, it's whether or not we will see Grant Brenneman or, for a third straight game, Sage Atwood at the position. The Dukes will have to be able to hit on the passing game outside early in this contest. I like the matchup between their Raleigh Stapleton and Tyler Castillo, the cornerback for Colgate. That's a primetime matchup that I'll be keeping an eye on. Overall, the added week of rest combined with the up and down nature of JMU's offense, along with Mike Houston now deciding to leave to go to Charlotte to take over that program, it tilts the scale in favor of Colgate in this ball game. This Raiders team is special in my opinion. They've been disrespected in a way nationally, and this is the type of game where they can announce that they've arrived to the party and are ready to dance. Two triple option teams meet up in Georgia as Wofford travels to Kennesaw State, and I'm interested to see how the Terriers approach this game because I think defensively they are right there on par with the Owls. It's the offensive side of the ball where I want to see maybe a little bit more of the element of surprise early on. Can they step outside of their own tendencies just a bit to get KSU off balance? That'll be the biggest key for me in this matchup. For the Owls in this ball game, it'll be mainly about first down and third down. Offensively, can they have success on first downs against a stout defense, and can their own defense get Wofford off the field on third downs? What we do know is that the Owls do have an element of the passing game within their option attack, which to me gives them the slight advantage over Wofford. I like Kennesaw in this game. That'll be closer than what many people think. Montana State travels to North Dakota State to take on the Bison in their second round matchup. If quarterback Troy Anderson can match what he did in the passing game against Incarnate Word against the Bison, then the Bobcats offense has a shot to frustrate this Bison defense. I love what I saw defensively from the Bobcats last week against a high-powered Cardinals offense. This game, it'll be more about winning in the trenches as opposed to winning out on the perimeter. North Dakota State this season has a couple of tests, or had a couple of tests, both South Dakota State and Youngstown State come to mind, so they are not invincible. However, they are excellent across the board and do a fantastic job of not beating themselves. Montana State will be a game opponent, but it won't be enough to get a win in Fargo. Duquesne and South Dakota State meet up in what I think is a very intriguing matchup. Both teams, in my opinion, are very similar offensively. They can run the heck out of the football, they block well up front, and have excellent perimeter talent. The biggest difference is at quarterback. While Daniel Parr for Duquesne has played better over the last couple of weeks, South Dakota State's Taryn Christian is one of the best QBs in the nation. Who can stop the run in this ball game will be the one who wins it for me. The Jacks defense have been a bit suspect in that regard, but to their credit, they do a great job of turning the ball over and getting key stops in crucial situations. Duquesne put the FCS on notice last week with their win over Towson, but I don't see them having enough to knock off the Jackrabbits. I like South Dakota State in a close ball game. This is going to be an excellent matchup between Southeast Missouri State and Weber State. I really like both defenses in this ball game. The amount of athleticism and length on both squads is impressive, and it's also no surprise of the success that they've had on that side of the ball all season long. Now, let's talk offense and let's talk the ground game, because both teams are bringing in great running backs to the table in Southeast Missouri State's Marquise Terry and Weber State's Josh Davis. When you bring backs that have combined for nearly 2,600 yards on the season into a ball game, you can't leave out the jobs that the offensive lines have done for both teams as well. So with that being the backdrop, how about we look at the X factor, the passing game? This is why I like Southeast Missouri State in this ball game. Quarterback Daniel Santacarina has been excellent, providing good balance to the offense by being efficient, and showed last week that he can be counted on to hit some key passes when it needed him to make some throws in that ball game against Stony Brook. I still have an iffy feeling about Weber State's passing game if they can do the same in the same situation, so look for the Red Hawks to pull off the upset. Another really good second round matchup here as Nicholls takes the trip out to Cheney, Washington to battle with the Eagles of Eastern Washington. I thought the Colonels defense put together a fantastic performance against the potent passing game of San Diego. The box score will say otherwise, but a lot of those yards and touchdowns were in garbage time. Offensively, they were both dynamic and explosive, and hopefully that travels with them this week out there to Cheney. The Eagles have not missed a beat since quarterback Eric Barrier has taken over. What's been impressive this year about the Eagles has been their balance. Defensively, they've been good on that side of the ball as well. The goal is to make this an Eric Barrier versus Chase 4K game, and if the Eagles can make the Colonels one-dimensional, then they have a chance. This will be a back and forth affair in my opinion, but I do like Eastern Washington to eke out the win. And finally, we have the Northern Iowa Panthers facing off against the UC Davis Aggies. The good news for Northern Iowa is that they're facing a team in UC Davis that's very similar to what they just faced offensively in Lamar last week in the playoffs, in which they were able to get the win. So they have a week's worth of live practice. The difference between Lamar and UC Davis, however, is the consistency of their offense and their ability to avoid making mistakes. What the Panthers have to focus on in this ballgame is their own offense and how they will be able to find the continuity necessary for the win. The Aggies have had a remarkable season under second-year head coach Dan Hawkins. They also have one of the best quarterback-wide receiver combinations in the FCS in Jake Mayer and Keelan Doss. So look for that to once again hold true in this ball game. I like the Aggies to win it.